you had a glimpse inside my head, you'd know I'm different than you. What works for you might not work for me, 'cause that's our solid ground. Oh,
so I got all of the green beans off of the trellis. You can see them kind of all there just on the ground. I'll have to take those away in a little bit. I also did a little bit more weeding just kind of around the pumpkins with anything that grew up too much. Here's one that I did not get. I do still have aphids all over the trellis from the green beans, so I'll have to deal with that also. Just clean this off before the next ones get started on there. The loofah didn't look affected by the aphids really. There were a few that were kind of intermingled that I took off, but they're looking pretty good. The last thing I definitely want to do before I go in is start testing this soil. As you can see, now that all the green beans are gone, a lot of space has opened up in this bed. But I do want to test the soil before I call it a day. So this is the soil test kit I got. I just picked it up from Lowe's. I've never tested our soil before. It says that it has 40 tests in there. I do plan to take our soil, you know, away and get it tested probably at the end of the year. But just for a quick fix, midsummer, I'm just gonna try this out and kind of see what our soil is really lacking. It tests the pH, you know, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And so I'm going to try this out. So reading the instructions, it looks like to test for the pH first, you just put soil into the thing and then put the powder on top and then fill with water. The other three, like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, potassium, you actually have to mix the soil with the water first. So I'm going to go ahead and test the pH in this bed right here with the peppers because that is my main concern. It is the one with the green cap. I'm going to go ahead, and it says to fill the soil just to the first line and then to do it that way. So I got it filled up with some of our soil. It says to the first line. I'm a little bit over that, so I hope that won't skew the measurement. I may just, it's kind of clumped in there. There, I may take some out. Perfect. So I've got a little bit of our soil and our compost. It said to go about 4 inches deep into the soil, and that's about where the compost and the soil meet. And then it says to put one of these tablets in there. Do you open it or do you just put it in there? Carefully open a green capsule. Okay, cool. And pour the powder into the tube. Alright, so I've got that in there, and it says add water to the 4th line. There we go. That's about the 4th. Okay. And then to cap it and to shake thoroughly. And then it says allow soil to settle and color to develop for about a minute. So I feel like that's shaken thoroughly. I'm going to let it sit. And I'm going to put my timer on it just for a minute, and then we will check against. Alright, so I let it sit for a minute, and this is the color it looks like. Comparing it to the chart here, I'm going to say it looks pretty similar to that one, especially in person, and that is slightly acidic. So I feel like that's pretty good. Not too shabby. So I mean, I guess slightly acidic isn't really that bad. Like, I can definitely get something to work on that, but I don't feel like the pH level is the cause of my issue. So I'm gonna keep going. For, like I said, for the other 3, you are supposed to shake them up. Oh, okay, so it says to fill a jar up, thoroughly shake or stir the soil and water together for at least 1 minute, and then allow the mixture to stand undisturbed until it settles, 30 minutes to 24 hours. So I guess I will just shake it up, and then we will see kind of how long it takes from there. So for these 3, I've got my clean jar now, and it says to fill with 1 part soil, 5 parts water. All right, so I've got a part soil in there. I'm gonna fill it up pretty much to the end, or the top, with water. Okay, and then it says shake or stir the soil and water together for at least 1 minute, and then allow the mixture to stand. Okay, so I don't have my lid out here, so I'm just going to use my hand. I could go in and get the lid, but honestly, I don't really feel like it. So I'm just going to shake this up here and do this for a minute. Alright, so I think that was about a minute. Now it says just to let it sit undisturbed until the soil settles at the bottom and the water comes up. So I think I'm just going to go in, bring this inside with me, and whenever everything kind of settles, then we'll do the next part. Alright guys, so it is the next morning. It is so humid out here, so if my camera starts to kind of look a little foggy, I'm constantly having to wipe off the lens already this morning. But last night I did go ahead and put the soil samples into the little tubes. I ended up letting them sit there for a good while, you know, that the soil and the water mixture, and then last night I just put it in the test tubes. And so I've got all of them here. Let me scoot a little closer so I can kind of show y'all. So I've got them all here. So like we said, the green we tested, you test that immediately. It was the pH level, and looking at it, like last night or yesterday, I thought it looked slightly acidic, but kind of comparing it, I would say it's between neutral and slightly acidic. Honestly, probably a little bit more neutral, and so I feel like the pH level is really good of the soil. But then coming down, so we've got the purple cap is nitrogen, blue is phosphorus, and then the orange one is potassium. So kind of comparing all of them individually, we'll kind of start with the nitrogen here. Alright, so with the chart, how it kind of works is if the color is real dark, that means it's high. Just kind of an average medium shade is medium, and then as it gets lighter, it means it's like lower, really low. My test tube did not even really pick up the color. So if I were to assume, it is even lower than very low. So extremely low nitrogen in the soil. For phosphorus with this blue, again, it's almost clear. It doesn't even really register on the test tube. It was so low. You can even see the color kind of build up here at the bottom. So I assume that this is like the soil is absorbing all of the nutrients it can. So as I mixed it up, you just kind of let it sit there for 10 minutes, and it was very, very low. Again, did not even register on the chart. And then lastly, for potassium, this isn't clear, but it is still, it's not really showing on the camera as well as it does in person, but it's ranking in the very low. So I think that my nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium on my garden bed is extremely low. So this weekend I'm gonna go get some stuff and kind of feed the garden beds. All the garden beds pretty much have the same soil. It may vary slightly, so I think I'm just gonna hit them all with the nutrients that this one garden bed needed, and then here at the end of the year really test all the beds individually, because I know they'll like slightly vary, but since they all pretty much came from the same place, I'm gonna assume that they need the same properties. And so I assumed that the garden beds needed some vitamins and stuff. Like, I am a new gardener, but like I said, I do feel like I'm doing what I can. I've done a lot of research online. Like, anytime I feel like a certain plant isn't getting what it's needing as far as like water and sunlight, like I feel like I've really looked into that kind of stuff. And although there is a learning curve to gardening, I feel like I've done a pretty decent job at trying to figure out what each plant needs. The only thing I hadn't done is really test my soil. I just assumed since I got new soil, new compost, everything, that it would have all the nutrients it needed and my plants would do really good, at least in the first year. But I learned that that is not necessarily the case. Definitely test your soil. You know, it is lacking severely, and so I think that's why some of my plants, like especially that pepper plant, just did not do what it needed to. Could explain why my loofah isn't, you know, growing fruit, why my green beans kind of died out. I don't know. So we will get the soil fixed this weekend, try to get some nutrients into it. So I think the last thing I need to do is just start my seeds. Hopefully by the time the seeds need to go in the ground, the soil will be all fixed, and so that won't be an issue at all. So I'm gonna go grab that stuff and then we'll start some seeds. Alright, so I got all my stuff up here to start these seeds. I've never started seeds before. Everything I did in the garden was either a plant from the nursery, or I just direct sowed it. I direct sowed most of my stuff and had a pretty decent success rate with that. But I do want to start seeds and try that out, because I do plan to start them in the winter, or you know, like the spring for next year. But I want to give it a little trial run. I don't have anything fancy to start seeds. I don't have grow lights, anything like that. I do plan to get that for next gardening season to start those seeds, but since it's the middle of summer and it's so nice out, I just figured I could probably start the seeds and kind of keep them inside, just out of the wind, because it's hot enough and the sunlight's there. So I'm just giving this a shot. It might not work out, and that's perfectly okay, but I just want to try it. So I just got this seed starting hex kit here. Again, for next year I do want to do soil blocking and everything, but I'm just going to give this a shot and see what kind of works out for me. And then as far as the soil goes, I just got this all-purpose garden soil. I see that it says for in-ground use now, but I wasn't paying attention at the store, so again, I'm just going to try it. If it works out, perfect. As far as what I'm going to start, the main thing, I don't know where it went, but I've got a little packet of broccoli that I'm going to do. I just had it, but I'm going to start broccoli wherever that packet went. And then the main thing is green beans. So I've got these rattlesnake pole beans, these purple green beans, and then just some Blue Lake green beans there. That's my main thing. I want to get green beans back into the ground. So green beans, broccoli, that's what I want to do. I'll probably do the majority of green beans. I'm gonna give squash and zucchini another shot. Even though all my plants were destroyed, it is the middle of summer. I have plenty of time to get more into the ground and get a pretty good harvest off those. I've been seeing, like I said, a lot of those squash vine borers kind of go on to the marigolds. And actually last night I picked quite a few of the little like worms or maggot things that the borers lay that, you know, infestate the squash and zucchini. So the marigolds are working perfectly. I think I'm gonna start a few more butternut squash, probably like 3 more plants of that. And then whatever space I have left, I'm gonna go ahead and plant some flowers. So I've got some snapdragons. I think I might try to start if those seeds are still good. They're a few years old, so I want to look into that real quick. And then 2 of the flowers I planted this year and I haven't seen bloom yet, which some of them haven't bloomed, so they may have grown but just haven't seen them yet, are these Senora zinnias and then the seashell cosmos. So I just want to plant a few more. Like I said, I've got 72 spots in this little seed starting thing, so I'm just gonna try and get what I can out of there, but we'll go ahead and get this started. I got all of these cells filled now. What I ended up doing is 6 broccoli, I think 30 green beans. I did do 4 butternut squash, 4 yellow squash, and 4 zucchini. I do know that you're supposed to mound them up. They like to be direct sowed. That's what I've always done. But I just wanted to throw them in here while I was starting seeds. I don't really know where I'm going to put the plants yet, so I just did this to kind of pass me by. I think I did 2 rows of snapdragons, a row of the Senora zinnias, and a row of those seashell cosmos. So I've got all of these filled up, so I'm just going to bottom water these and let them soak up some water that way. But I think I'm just going to do that off camera. I also need to find a spot to put them, which might be difficult because they'll need sunlight, but not too much, I think. And then our chickens are free range, and so they like to eat my seedlings a lot. So I'll need to find a spot that is chicken proof. But I think once I get done with that, I'm just gonna call it a day. Thank you guys so much for kind of sticking around and seeing some gardening stuff. I know I have a lot of fails, but a lot of wins too. And so I'm sure every year that I plant, I will be more and more successful. But we're just trying out some new things. Like I said, trying out these starts outside. I've never done it and I don't have anything to lose, so I'm just gonna try and see if this works out for me. But again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.